Your Pharmacy Career Podcast, proudly brought to you by Ravens Recruitment, Australia's pharmacy recruitment agency, spotlights the myriad of career paths available to pharmacists. Your host, Christy Lee Patterson, and her esteemed guests will be sharing invaluable career advice that you can implement at any stage of your career journey.
Welcome back to another episode of Your Pharmacy Career Podcast. I'm your host, Christy Lee Patterson, and today I am here with an amazing pharmacist and entrepreneur who is doing some amazing things in the space of education for interns and pharmacists. So we have Ghassoub El Assaad here, and I hope I said that right, but He's also known as Gus. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. The fantastic pronunciation as well. That was awesome.
Thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show. I'd like to start with getting to know you. So if you could give us a little bit of background on yourself and what led you to do pharmacy.
100%, yeah, absolutely. So I think my path is a little bit unconventional in a sense. I don't have any specific sort of story in the sense that like I was born for pharmacy, so to speak. I would say, it's sort of my life sort of led me to pharmacy in one way or another. Essentially, always had a passion for healthcare and medicine in general. And I've always had a passion for helping people and asking questions and being a conversationalist, so to speak. So I'd always love to have a chat in general. So I think fusion of those two sort of realms of being someone that's very outgoing and at the same time someone that's very sort of dedicated and interested in learning everything about medicine and pharmacology and everything clinical as well, sort of led me down that path indirectly. But a more direct influence would have been a lot of my biggest influences in my life are really family, to be honest. I have a few family members that have gone down this path, pharmacy, and through them, I was really introduced to what pharmacy actually is. Biggest testament would be my first cousin. She's one of the most amazing pharmacists you'll ever meet, and I've had the blessing of working with her, and she really showed me sort of the beauty of being a pharmacist and the real contribution the pharmacy has, not just on me as the pharmacist, but on the public that we're serving and treating on a daily basis. So she was a huge influence for sure that led me to sort of do what I do. And working in the pharmacy industry for almost 10 years at this point, from the days of student to intern to pharmacist, it's fascinating to see where pharmacy is going, and it just makes you more enthusiastic and more energized and excited about what's to come. So it's sort of addicting, that sort of sensation that, pharmacy is evolving and growing, and that sensation of us being at the forefront of healthcare, it's really exciting, and that's what's keeping me going for sure.
I wanted to touch on something you just mentioned about what pharmacy actually is. And what do you mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think pharmacy is something that's such a special discipline when it comes to medicine and healthcare. It sort of sits in a very, very particular niche or a particular sort of gap in the healthcare market, so to speak. And we have, your doctors and your hospital side of things where they're more of your diagnosis, pathophysiology and things like that. Pharmacy is more, they used to teach us in uni, we're the medicine experts, not just medicine experts. As an extension of that, we're really just a healthcare expert and a primary care expert, so to speak. So especially nowadays, 20 years ago, if someone asked you about what pharmacy is, most people just think of more or less like a vending machine for medication at that point. And no disrespect to the pharmacist of beyond the years, but nowadays, hopefully the public perception is changing. And coming out of COVID and how pharmacy was pretty much the backbone of Australia's vaccination program in general, I think the public is starting to finally sort of understand the potential of pharmacy in terms of delivering healthcare, of being a point of contact, of being sort of, I always say this analogy, that barbershop of the community where it's considered like a safe space or a non-judgment free space where anyone can come in and have a chat. You're not going to get judged, or no one's going to think of you in an odd way if you have something particular or something private that you want to raise. The pharmacy is the place to be. So I think that is what separates us from like a doctor's place or a dentist or a physio or any other allied health. Don't get me wrong, they have their place, but I think pharmacy is the glue that sort of connects everyone together.
I wonder though if maybe some of the places that you worked earlier in your career maybe had a bit of an impact on how you see what pharmacy actually is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I've been through, how do I say, my opinions and my perspective of pharmacy has changed multiple times during this whole journey, from being just a regular floor staff member to becoming a university student, pharmacy student, intern, and an actual registered pharmacist. And I've worked in mainly my experiences in community. So I'm not super confident when it comes to the hospital sort of aspect of pharmacy, but when it comes to community pharmacy, it's my bread and butter. I've worked in all different types of sort of pharmacy structures and community, whether it be your big box retailer or your boutique pharmacy, or even I've had the pleasure of working at some 24-hour chemists. So they're really, really interesting experiences, all very, very different. And the pharmacy that I've now sort of established myself in or settled myself in is a fantastic community pharmacy. And it's really sort of the reason why I've decided to stay there at this point is because it's really what I currently expect of a pharmacy, where it has that combination of, clinical and professional and pharmacological sort of aspects, but at the same time, you're melding it with being a community member and being a prominent member of the community where people come to you and know you and you know them on a first name basis, where they can rely on you for, advice and help and just having a chat. Now, looking back when I was younger, back in, pharmacy student days, my perspective was a little bit different. There was a period of time, I'm not sure exactly when, but I'm not sure if that's happened to you as well, but that maybe in the mid 2010s ish, before COVID, there was a bit of that sense of like dread when it comes to pharmacy and what pharmacy was. And I think a lot of students, and myself included, had that sort of how do I say, unsure of ourselves in terms of where we're going to go in our careers, especially because there was such negative doom and gloom surrounding the environment of pharmacy. But I think through COVID and things like that, where there's major sort of health scares, where it's really forced us or forced pharmacy in general to step up to another level, I think everyone's looking at it a little bit more positively. And I think that's my outlook has changed as well. Like I used to be very, very pessimistic in general when it comes to the trend of where pharmacy is going as a career and my place in pharmacy. Over the last few years, my perspective has changed completely, to be honest with you. And I feel a lot more optimistic and it's a lot more positive in terms of where we're going and what's expected and how we're going to hopefully confront that and sort of rise to the occasion, so to speak, and sort of become better. So I think working those different types of community pharmacies was able to show me the different way pharmacy is changing, how it's evolving, and how pharmacists can provide for the community. Because the different pharmacies have completely different services and different types of structure, dispensary-wise and shop-wise. So I was able to see it all and able to see, what works and what doesn't work and, what makes the best pharmacy and how does it.
Yes, I have definitely felt the same as you over the years. There was that time where I think just after my internship, I did become quite disillusioned with community pharmacy. And I think it's because I had worked in a number of really great community pharmacies in local rural areas that had that really sense of community, and they were the place to go when everyone knew them by name. So I was, I guess, very privileged in the fact that I saw that first.
Yeah.
And then once I moved and did uni and worked and got some experience different types of community pharmacies, I realised, this is very different to what I thought it was going to be. But I don't regret working in all those different types of pharmacies, and there's a place for all different types of pharmacies as well. At the end of the day, the customer dictates where they want to go, and there's absolutely a place for all different types of pharmacies. But I think getting exposure and working in different community settings, different locations, different areas really does allow you to make that decision for yourself, what you
absolutely.
think is right and what is maybe not right for you.
Yeah, 100%.
And
you get those experiences from the different pharmacies. Every pharmacy operates in a slightly different way, and good or bad, you still learn from each experience, right?
Exactly. And I think too, you also can't, I was going to use the word discount, but you can't put some pharmacy chains or some brands in a certain perception of what it actually is. And what I mean by that is I've worked in so many different pharmacies, and sometimes people say, don't work for this pharmacy or whatever because of whatever reason.
Yeah.
But then I've actually just gone and done it myself, and you can have these really amazing experiences, and then that perception actually isn't reality. And you talked about the pharmacy where you work now and that sense of community, and I've had the privilege to work at the same pharmacy as you for a couple of locum shifts. So that's actually where I met Gus. And I definitely see that. Like I will be honest, I thought, it's what's branded is a perceived to be a discount pharmacy, and you're open really long hours and you do a lot of scripts. But I was so surprised at the level of that community engagement and people
Yeah.
coming in and asking you by name. And
Yep.
honestly, one of the best pharmacies I've locaned at, because not only do you have that community feeling, but your staff are just so well trained, and it's just kind of hums. So everyone knows what they're doing. And I
Correct.
think that's a testament to your leadership style as well. Yeah, he's interested in doing
Yeah.
maybe some work at this pharmacy. Yeah, hit
Yeah,
us up.
yeah. I'm not sure if you want me to plug it. No, thank you.
You can. You
Yeah,
can if you're
legit.
allowed to.
Seeing Carter Chemist in Blacktown. Yeah, come on down.
Come on down. Nobody is.
No,
Yeah, Blacktown is a very different area, especially if you're in Sydney. But it's
yeah.
culturally as well. But I absolutely loved it, and I think getting that exposure to different cultures and
Mm.
different experiences in community pharmacy is really important. And one thing I learned very quickly there was how good Google Translate can be.
Oh, yeah,
Your
absolutely.
best friend.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, you go.
No, I was just saying, yeah, you know what? We use it almost at a daily basis. It's almost one of our staff members Google Translate. I like to call our shop more or less the UN or pharmacy, where we have someone from every country come in on one day. So we've had people from Burma, from Sudan, from Turkey, from the Middle East, you name it, any country that we have a customer that's from there. So I think I'm very proud to say that, because the Blacktown is one of the most unique places in Sydney,
Mm.
which I think is so underrated, and it's going to become one of the biggest CBDs in the next 5 to 10 years. Right now, it's the population's booming, the city's booming. It's one of the most amazing communities you can ever encounter. And like you said before, look, the staff honestly are an extension of that. Staff are a fantastic group, and we're so lucky to have them. They all know everyone by name. They know how everyone thinks, what their personalities are like. They know how to handle each person as an individual, as opposed to some other experiences that might be a little bit less, how do I say, culturally accepting or culturally sort of like flexible. So I think we're very fortunate to have that sort of mentality and culture running in the shop, for sure. You probably saw it
Yeah,
firsthand as well.
absolutely. Oh, and
Yeah,
I could definitely see that when I was there. And the good thing about Blacktown is all the amazing different types of food you can get there as
yeah,
well. So I
absolutely, absolutely.
love
Yeah,
trying new food.
no shortage there.
I would now love to chat to you about Pharmacy Down Under. So if you
Mhm.
haven't heard of Pharmacy Down Under yet, maybe Gus, could you give us a bit of an overview on what
Yeah.
Pharmacy Down Under is? And
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Pharmacy Down Under,
yeah,
if you don't know about it, then we have some other problems to deal with.
yeah.
So essentially, Pharmacy Down Under is a little sort of passion project that I started in the last year. And the whole sort of thesis behind it, or the magnus opus about it, is to fill in that gap that we've all been through as pharmacists, as interns, as students. We've always had that feeling of, how do I say, I wouldn't say isolation, but you're studying, you're grinding, you're going to the uni course, you're doing your intern training program, you're working full time. Life's hard, I get it. It's hard to manage as it is. Now, I know in some situations, a lot of students, and even myself included, back when I was an intern, never had that sort of that community, or like a big brother approach, where you had sort of a family or a community of like-minded individuals that you could sort of bounce off and sort of learn and rehash yourself and get yourself in a mindset of success and launching your career in the right way. So the whole idea of Pharmacy Down Under initially started as a newsletter, which still is at the moment. A weekly newsletter, just to get yourself involved in terms of the pharmacy world, anything changing in pharmacy. But now it's sort of branched out into more of like a sort of social media sort of presence, in a sense, where it's got an Instagram, a TikTok, a YouTube, and hopefully over time will grow into something more. But right now it's more about education, community, sort of refocusing and sort of getting yourself in the right mindset and prepping yourself for your pharmacy journey, and hopefully in the most optimal way.
Well, yeah, I think if anyone hasn't heard of Pharmacy Down Under, they obviously must be living under a rock
Yeah,
or something like that, because
absolutely.
it's definitely all over, my socials, and I've definitely signed up. And yeah, I think you're right. Like when you're an intern or even an early career pharmacist,
Mm,
can almost feel a little bit isolating. So
yeah.
I know I definitely felt like that at times.
Mm,
And I think we're really lucky now in 2024 and post COVID, as you said. I think we're so much more engaged online, which is
mm,
such a powerful thing. So people
yeah.
that you couldn't normally connect with, you can now connect with a different way. And so you said that it started as a newsletter and it's
Mm.
now kind of taken on its own kind of,
Yeah, yeah. So it's sort of
look and
grown, sort of
feel.
ballooned on its own. initially it was a newsletter, just weekly, just to post updates. And then recently I've had people reach out and doing, guest posts. So I've had a few people reaching out and they're, writing little articles here and there. And it's been really good because it's cool. It's like bringing sort of everyone from pharmacy together to one place, which is awesome and makes the small world of pharmacy even more homely and more wholesome. Because it's sort of seeing all these people from the Australian pharmacy community pitching in, giving out their ideas, spreading some information that, you might not otherwise learnt about. So I think it's something that's quite unique. And I'm looking forward to see where it's going to sort of go from here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited to see how it all plays out. Do you have any ideas as to where you want to take it, or at this point in time you're just happy sticking with creating the content that you do have now, or have you got any grander plans for the future?
Yeah, look, ultimately I do. Like right now at this point, because it's still in its infancy, my main sort of purpose here is just to sort of establish that presence that you're not alone as a pharmacy student or as an intern. You have, places like Pharmacy Down Under, either on LinkedIn or on Instagram, TikTok, even on YouTube, to connect and, input into the quizzes or, participate and be part of the community and sort of fuel the way the Pharmacy Down Under sort of name is going. Now, ultimately, my goal is to always branch out to some sort of education pathway. So I've always wanted to do something in terms of teaching or in terms of running courses or even do some sort of like even one-on-one or as a group, like just mentoring, just to sort of guide these young sort of pharmacists in the right direction. Because I definitely needed something like that when I was then, like that age or that experience level. I had no idea what I was doing when I came out of internship. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a goal. So I think something like Pharmacy Down Under, if when I was an intern, would have been instrumental. So my ultimate goal is some sort of education, whether it be a course or tutoring or even just through YouTube as like classes and stuff like that. That's definitely my ultimate goal.
Yeah, so I think with the Pharmacy Down Under kind of community that you're creating, I can definitely see that it's going to go in that direction that you would like to see, because it's creating that sense of community and educating others. And yeah, I really think that you'll be able to achieve that, which is really exciting. I guess for me and some of our listeners, if they were wanting to maybe engage with you and they don't really know how could they actually reach out to you?
Yeah, look, it's a very good question, to be honest. Well, the number one way will always be to actually sign up to the newsletter. It's literally free, risk-free. There's no sort of downside to it. The whole idea is that by signing up to the newsletter, you can have that constant sort of connection with the Pharmacy Down Under sort of group community. And you can reach out, interact with the forums. Usually for a lot of the students that I've interacted with, the majority of them prefer to go through Instagram and TikTok. So we also have Instagram page and a TikTok page, which are all active and we're communicating, running quizzes almost a couple times a week, quizzing students and sort of putting the students to the test and really getting those interns prepped for the actual intern exam coming up. So that's usually the main two ways. So usually through the actual newsletter itself and interacting through our socials. And thirdly, if you even want to interact directly with me, look, just give me a follow on LinkedIn and DM me. I'm more than happy to chat with anyone that's interested.
That sounds so fun about the stuff that you're doing on TikTok and Instagram. That would have been really valuable, absolutely, when we were earlier on in our careers to practice and get that.
Correct. So I think it's something a bit different, just to keep the students on their toes and keep them fresh and keep them, how do I say, in that growing or that learning mindset, so they don't sort of get complacent. I know a lot of us, even as a registered pharmacist, I still endeavor, or, regular pharmacists are already registered and been working for years. Just, have a sit down and have a bit of a refresher, because we can't remember everything. We're not perfect. We need to remember things and refresh and, learn up on the new materials and new resources that are being released almost every day. There's always new therapies out there. We could always be better and learn about better options for our patients, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great advice. And yeah, I think too with pharmacy, we have to do our 40 CPD credits, but it is a continual learning journey with pharmacy. There's just so much change, whether it, as you said, just the new medications that are coming onto the market or different ways to practice. There's full scope coming. Yeah, I think the future of pharmacy is going to probably look quite different to when we first started in pharmacy.
Absolutely.
But I think it's going to be really exciting.
Absolutely. 5-10 years from now, it's going to be unrecognizable, I reckon.
I think so.
Really interesting.
Yeah, but I'm excited. I think it'll be a good thing though.
Absolutely, 100%. Is finally they'll be able to have that strike that balance between that long sort of battle between pharmacists and doctors, which is not really a battle to be honest. It's more of a media thing. We love to work with doctors. That's our bread and butter. The thing is, we can finally have that distinction and sort of ease the burden off medical centers and hospitals, and actually sort of contribute and sort of lighten this load that we have right now in Australia. We've got a massive issue in terms of emergency rooms being filled with people that don't need to be there, and so hopefully we can sort of mitigate that issue and that toll on the healthcare system soon.
Mm. Oh yeah, it's definitely an issue. Just recently, my mum had to go to ED, and she had to sit in the ambulance in the queue for quite a number of hours before she
Oh
even got
goodness,
into the pharmacy,
that's
into
terrible.
the hospital. Sorry,
Yeah,
but like, in some ways, we're like, oh well, if you didn't get in straight away, then obviously mean you think it's not that bad, but still, it's really quite sad that a country like Australia is having this problem. So
yeah, absolutely,
if
absolutely,
pharmacy can help relieve that pressure, it's really going to change the health of our local communities, which is really
absolutely,
important.
absolutely.
The last thing I wanted to chat to you about is maybe reflecting on your career journey and maybe asking yourself if you had to give advice to a younger self,
Mhm.
what advice would you actually give to yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually a really good question, to be honest, because the thing is, I think a lot of pharmacy interns or anyone in the healthcare industry, when they leave that sort of phase of being a trainee or being a student or being sort of learning and, always feeling that they're shadowing someone else, as soon as they get registered, they might have that sensation of being overwhelmed or having that imposter syndrome that settles in. Don't get me wrong, look, that's expected and it's normal, very, very normal to experience that. But I think the biggest issue I've noticed with a lot of pharmacy students, especially the new batches that are coming out nowadays, is that I feel like they don't really have a sense of purpose, in a sense that they don't really know what to do with themselves once they're registered. And
Mm,
so I think that is sort of a combination of a few things. It could be they weren't potentially having the best experience as an intern or the best preceptor potentially, or maybe they had that imposter syndrome is sort of making them feel inadequate, or maybe they feel like they don't have the ability to make anything like a name for themselves or make a career for themselves necessarily. So I do think it's worthwhile to sit down with yourself once you're registered and think about it and actually ask yourself, what is my purpose as a pharmacist? What is my goals? What's my 5-year plan, 10-year plan? So I'm not necessarily saying in terms of business sake, like you don't necessarily say, oh, I want to buy X amount of pharmacies or so on and so forth. No. I mean, like, what is your plan as an individual, as a pharmacist? Do you want to sort of navigate a different world of pharmacy? Did you want to hop over to hospital industry? Did you want to locum for a bit? Did you want to go into HMRs or compounding or aged care? When you're young and you're early in your career, you have the time and you have the flexibility to afford to do things like that and find your path. So I think a lot of people settle and a lot of people get complacent. And I think that
mm,
really just kills the moral and kills the career completely from the beginning. So I think having a real reflection and taking like literally a week or two to really just think about it and give yourself a plan, like literally in front of you, handwritten, that that in this amount of time I'm going to try X, Y, and Z. If that doesn't work, I'm going to try A, B, C, and then I'll sort of take it from there. And constantly reevaluating yourself is really important. So my best advice would be give yourself a goal, give yourself a plan, and don't become complacent and constantly challenge yourself and constantly revise yourself and revise your actions and your sort of progression to redirect yourself onto the right path. So I think that's a really, really important one for anyone in any healthcare stream, whether it be pharmacy or medicine or dentistry. So I think it's really, really important to sort of give yourself goals and constantly reevaluate yourself as you go.
yeah, I think it's just great life advice in
Mm,
general,
mm,
really, but if you think about it. Yeah, no, I definitely have done that, especially in probably the last couple of years of
mm,
my life as well. Really getting down to what's important to me and where do
yeah,
I see myself, as you said, as an individual, and
great.
doing things that excites you or pushes the boundaries, makes you grow and become a better person.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. As long as you have that sort of mindset that you're willing to learn and willing to grow and just
Mm,
to always fight complacency. Complacency in anything in life will put you to a halt. So I think trying to challenge yourself and make yourself push yourself outside of your comfort zone to the point where you can grow and sort of succeed, even in the small victories, is a win to me. So if you're learning to become, a better communicator in the pharmacy, or you're learning to become more competent in certain skills in pharmacy, or even outside of pharmacy, I think that's a win in my book. So as long as you're constantly iterating on yourself.
Yep. Great advice. I think that's a great way to end our conversation. We've been chatting now for almost half an hour, and I know I've gotten some really good tips out of about what you were chatting about. And I think the most important take-home message is, if you're not following or registered for Pharmacy Down Under, make sure you jump online and sign up. We'll have the link in our show notes as well as on LinkedIn. But Gus, thank you so much for joining us today. And as he mentioned, if you want to reach out to him on LinkedIn, social media, other avenues, go for it. So thanks again, Gus.
No, absolutely. Anytime. Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity. It was really, really fun having a chat with you. Yeah, like you said, anyone is free to have a chat with me. I won't bite, I promise. Just DM me on LinkedIn and we're more than happy to, book a time or just have a chat.
Awesome. Sounds great.
All right. Thank you so much.
You've been listening to Your Pharmacy Career podcast, brought to you by Ravens Recruitment. Don't miss our next episode, where we continue to explore the multifaceted world of pharmacy careers. Make sure to subscribe and share.